Best Spanish horror movies of the 21st century, yet. Spanish culture has delivered notable films throughout filmography, especially in the last 20 years. Movies have dated back to classic legends and folklore in the horror genre to give us some of the most skin-crawling, spine-chilling horror films. Famous producers and directors such as Pedro Almodóvar and Guillermo del Toro have gifted us with some fantastically scary movies, such as Pan's Labyrinth and The Skin I Live In, which have provided us with many a nightmare. So, here we present you with our collection of the best Spanish horror movies of the 21st century. Let's begin, shall we?
Number 10.
La Llorona, 2019. Enrique Monteverde is under trial for masterminding the genocide of native Mayans during his dictatorship in Guatemala. However, the court dismissed him as not guilty as the verdict could not be conclusively proven. This enraged many indigenous people who protested relentlessly outside his house, where he lived with his wife Carmen, daughter Natalia, granddaughter Sarah and his servants. One night he almost shoots his wife, claiming he heard a woman's weeping, causing all the Caxical servants to quit. Valeriana, his faithful housekeeper, brings in a young lady named Alma to help around the house. Soon after, supernatural activity occurs, as if emanated by Alma's presence inside the house, and the masses ceaselessly protesting outside. Eventually, Enrique's family realizes the truth about Enrique and Alma's past. The film is partly based on real-life events involving the 1981-83 Maya genocide orchestrated by Efrain Rios Montt. Many have praised the film for its uniquely dramatic take on the Mexican legend of the Weeping Woman. Quite brutal in its storytelling, the film is a political drama with supernatural elements pining for vengeance. The film especially received a positive response for portraying the legend better than its American counterpart, The Curse of La Llorona. Number 9. Shrews Nest, 2014. Before we go forward, please subscribe to us. Your small click will help us in a huge way to produce more videos for you. Let's continue. Montz is a freelance seamstress in 1950s Madrid. Losing her mother to her sister's birth at a young age caused Montz great grief. Their father's desertion and the sole responsibility of Nia's care falling on her shoulders forced Montz to find comfort in her rigid Christian beliefs and solace in the sister's apartment. Montz developed severe agoraphobia over the years, and her trauma requires her to use morphine to numb the effects. She grew to fear her surroundings and be sternly maternal over Nia, to the point where she would use violence to tame Nia's ways if she felt Nia was out of line. This situation takes a terrifying turn when Montz finds an injured man named Carlos at their door, seeking medical aid. Refusing at first to help him, Montz quickly changes her mind and takes him under her care. Little did Carlos know what she had in store for him. Museronas, or Shrews Nest in Spanish, focuses on a woman's beliefs and social fears stemming from childhood trauma. The film encompasses mystery, suspense, and gore, a feast for horror enthusiasts. It's worth watching to see psychological disorders merge with horror, an unusual feat in this genre. Number 8. The Platform, 2019. A vertical, descending prison with 250 levels. Each level has 2 prisoners holed up in a 6-foot box with only one window to receive food sent down on a platform. Each prisoner on the level below receives what the upper-level prisoners leave for them, and they have to do it within 2 minutes. Any attempt to retain the food within the box will result in the prisoner's death by fatal heating or cooling the box. Goring discovered this. He volunteered to stay in prison in exchange for a diploma. Paired with Trimagasi, Goring learns that they are allowed one personal item and that once a month, they'll be put under to be shifted to different levels. Goring discovers that the upper levels are more lenient, and the lower levels turn into deranged and unhinged cannibals from starvation. Slowly Goring seems to be going insane in this immoral and murderous place, having almost been killed by his roommate, and seeks a way out. The film is fast-paced and gory, yet the ending is rushed and incomplete. The film is a thriller portrayal of society status and worst ideologies, and is worth watching for the imbued symbolism within the film scenes. The Skin I Live In, 2011. Robert Ledgard presents his latest invention in a medical symposium, artificially grafted skin resistant to any injury. However, they immediately shut him down when he revealed unauthorized transgenic human experimentation to the board. So, he returns to his secluded estate to lay off all employees except his long-term worker Marilia. Marilia is responsible for the care of a woman named Vera held on the estate. While this occurs, Marilia's estranged son Zico arrives and asks his mother to host him. When he sees Vera on a security camera, he demands to meet her but isn't allowed. Enraged, Zico ties up Marilia and forcibly has his way with Vera. Robert arrives soon after, kills Zico, and disposes of the body. Marilia reveals to Vera that she actually birthed both Zico and Robert. While Robert went on to become a doctor, Zico's life went downhill. Zico's return and subsequent elope with Robert's wife, Gal, led to every terribly elevated event, leading to Vera's shocking realization of who she is. This film has very dark and intense elements, which few films are known to achieve, albeit not gory. It is perfectly creepy and horrific enough to make your skin crawl. Number 6. The Devil's Backbone, 2001. Cáceres and Carmen run a small orphanage in Civil War-torn Spain with the help of Jacinto and Conchita. They support the Republicans, and are thus subject to attack. They also house a ton of gold used for Republican purposes. An orphan named Carlos is brought in, and he soon strikes up a friendship with Jamie. But he soon begins having visions of a lost child, Santi. When he finds ghostly drawings of the missing boy in Jamie's drawings, Carlos suspects he knows something, later revealed in the film. Cáceres informs Carmen that they may be subject to another attack due to the gold, and discusses evacuating the children. Jacinto, greedy for gold, crudely brings up his affair with Carmen and demands the gold. Cáceres threatens him at gunpoint to leave. But Conchita finds Jacinto dousing the kitchen in gasoline, and he ignites it before leaving. A teacher and many kids are killed in the consequent blast, and Carmen is fatally wounded. Jacinto does return for the gold, but finds he cannot leave just yet. The film is a beautiful, haunting, complete, sad tale with a hopeful ending. It's known as Del Toro's absolute masterpiece, and is worth watching at least once.
Number 5.
The Orphanage, 2007. Laura is a kind woman who wants to repay her debt of gratitude to the orphanage she grew up in. She returns with her husband, Carlos, and son Simon to the rundown orphanage to re-establish it. The social worker, Benigna, visits the family and discovers Simon is adopted and is HIV positive. Laura gets peeved at Benigna's intrusiveness and asks her to leave, but finds her snooping around later. Simon, who seems to have made a friend, angrily claims that his friend said he's adopted and will die soon. Later, Laura and Simon argue, which leads to Laura unintentionally smacking Simon. He runs away and hides, but when Laura searches for him, she is trapped by a child in a sack. Escaping, she tries to find Simon, but he is lost. 6 months later, he is still nowhere to be found. Laura must now unfold pieces of her past to find out what happened to her son and her old orphanage mates. The movie comprises both old and new elements. It holds traditional scare, while inputting current life situations. Though it contains some decent horror elements, the film, in general, is more poetic, and has an angsty yet happy ending.
Number 4.
Verónica, 2017. Verónica and her friends try to contact their deceased loved ones during an eclipse through a seance with an Ouija board, but things go awry as the seance backfires, and she accidentally cuts herself and drips blood on the board. She lets out a demonic screech and passes out. Soon Verónica experiences supernatural incidents like claw marks on her back and an invisible presence interrupting her activities. She goes back to the basement, where they conducted the seance, and meets a blind nun dubbed Sister Death, who informs Verónica that an evil spirit attached itself to her and targeted her siblings. This turns darker when she finds herself unconsciously strangling her younger sister and notices sinister burn marks on her mattress. Verónica now must desperately find a way to save herself and her siblings from the looming evil. While a good few argue that the film seemed dull, horror enthusiasts claim otherwise. With well-done jump scares and notable acting from the young cast, the film, though it may seem quite ordinary, has an uneasy, eerie setting that sets it apart from other films of its genre.
Number 3.
The Others, 2001. Grace Stewart and her 2 photosensitive children live in a secluded country house in New Jersey, and she hires 3 new servants, one of whom claims to have worked in that house for years. When strange events begin occurring, Grace learns from her that many left this place due to a tuberculosis epidemic. The daughter, Anne, finds an old lady and a family who claim the house is theirs. Seeing a piano play itself seals the deal for Grace, who rushes out to find a priest, but instead runs into her husband, who she thought died at war. Grace goes to Anne, but finds the old lady in Anne's communion dress. She attacks her, but finds out she attacked Anne. Anne is then seen telling her brother that their mother had gone mad the way she did the other day. The next night, the children sneak out to the cemetery to find the headstones of the 3 servants. At the same time, Grace finds a mourning portrait of the 3 servants who died in the epidemic. The film is praised for its subtlety, atmosphere, and build-up of the plot twist. It's worth watching for its unique storyline alone. Number 2, Wreck, 2007. Angela and Pablo are on shift for their late-night show when they get wind of a case with a local fire station they are covering. They go with the firefighters to find an old woman trapped and screaming. Assuming she's scared, the firefighters and 2 cops approach her. When she turns aggressive, bites a cop, throws a firefighter off the apartment railings, attacks a little girl, but another cop fatally shoots her. Angela and Pablo begin interviewing the gathered residents of the apartments. They interview a little girl who says her sick dog is at the vet, and her mother claims the girl has tonsillitis. But the little girl turns aggressive as well, and attacks her mother. The health inspector then reveals that the apartments are being sealed off due to a rabbit infection spreading rapidly. Angela and Pablo trace it back to the girl's dog, but once they enter the apartment for more information, they soon realize there's no way out. The film is the first of a 4-part low-budget series, but is an acclaimed underdog of found-footage horror films. The movie is overwhelmingly scary, shaking people to their core. If you're into some pure nightmare-inducing horror, this one's for you. Number 1, Pan's Labyrinth, 2006. Ophelia is a 10-year-old child traveling with her sickly pregnant mother Carmen to visit her stepfather Vidal in 1944 Francoist Spain. One night when she is sleeping, she is seen by a stick insect, who turns out to be a fairy, that guides her into a labyrinth, where she meets a faun. Ophelia discovers that she is the reincarnation of the long-lost Princess Moana of the underworld, and to return to her kingdom, she must solve 3 tasks from a book given to her by the faun. Amidst innocence, lessons of obedience, shocking reveals, and challenges, Ophelia must solve the 3 tasks to return to her kingdom, while maintaining her status as a simple 10-year-old child in the real world. Originally titled El Laberinto del Fauno in Spanish, this film wonderfully amalgamates dark thriller and fantasy. Guillermo del Toro does a beautiful job directing this film, well known amongst thriller horror enthusiasts, incorporating the aftermath of Civil War-torn Spain and the daydreams used to escape reality. The graphics and visuals are strikingly unique, creating a world unseen before. As some argue, while the plot looks child-friendly, the movie is meant for an older audience, perhaps due to heavy metaphorical references to real-life issues. That was all in this video. Do hang around for more awesome content on everything that's movies, comics, and TV. Stay safe, and have a good one.